Welcome to episode 72 of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast. Hi, I'm Chris. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you join the podcast for the Becoming Ellie community.
And I'm Jill. Want to know who Ellie is? She was the Norse goddess of aging and beat Thor in a wrestling match. Obviously, people were surprised. And you know what? I think they should make a movie about that.
Jill and I thought we'd like to become like Ellie. So we've worked hard to become fit and strong. It's a balance of healthy eating and staying active.
Chris and I created the Becoming Ellie community to help others join us in this journey. You can find out more on our website, becomingellie.com. And you can find lots of articles there and links to the different podcast episodes.
Feel free to sign up there for our emails to find out about the latest podcast episodes and blog posts.
Oh, let me just say that becomingellie.com is Ellie is E-L-L-I. Chris, I am really excited about today's guest. Jane Crawford shares a lot of her activities on the Becoming Ellie Facebook group. So I was really happy to have the chance to have her on the podcast too.
Yes, Jane is inspirational, and it's great to learn more from someone who's working so hard to be fit and strong. Let's go to the podcast.
Jane Crawford is a recreation therapist who lives in Calgary, Canada, and walks the talk about wellness and healthy living. Jane says, as a recreation therapist, I have had the joy of being able to learn the clinical tools to support those with chronic health conditions and be able to use those tools in my own life.
In 2008, Jane started the goal of 10,000 steps per day and continues to do this today. In 2010, she started with the simple check mark on the kitchen calendar of completing 30 minutes most days for physical activity. This simple way of holding herself accountable has led Jane to become a triathlete and a passionate mountain biker.
Jane has been a member of the Becoming Ellie community for a good while. We're so excited to get to talk to her in person.
Welcome, Jane. We're glad to have you here with us.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of the podcast.
This is such a treat to get to talk to someone that we actually sort of know, at least virtually.
True.
All right. So maybe you could tell us a bit about your history with fitness. Have you always been an active person? What prompted you to start getting those 10,000 steps?
I haven't always been active. I actually, I was active as a kid, and then I became a teenager and became not the best and sort of fell out of favor with it. But I was a swimmer all my life and swam competitively. And then sort of, you get married and life gets in its way and you get busy with career and you sort of get out of the habit. I think I was in my early 40s. I was working in a clinic where they started to talk about chronic health conditions, and our patients were facing obesity and diabetes and hypertension. And I thought, I'm kind of getting there to have, concerns. It's definitely about my weight. I have struggled with my weight all my life. So I started to look carefully at what I was teaching my clients and thought, I need to be doing some of this, right? Things like giving up the pop. We had the diagram in our group about how many sugar cubes are in a can of pop. And I was drinking 2 to 3 cans of pop a day. And I thought, okay, that sounds like something I could do. And so I started really trying to think about if I have to model to my patients, and I don't want my patients to go, well, you're having a pop while we have a sit and have a visit. I thought, well, I needed to do it. So I bought a water bottle and all that kind of stuff and really started to get serious about my weight. And then I thought, Canada, the healthy active living guidelines for Canadians is we should be exercising 5 out of 7 days a week, most days of the week. And I thought, I don't do that. And so I thought, well, I better start finding something to do. And at that point, my husband was able to purchase us pedometers through his company. And we decided that we would commit to 10,000 steps each day. And if one of us didn't have them, the other one would still go for a walk with them. And sometimes we were walking at 11 o'clock at night because we'd made that commitment. And now it's just part of our routine, just being active and moving along. And then I joined a gym and, just sort of grew from there. But really, it was starting to think about my weight was increasing. I was talking to people about healthy living, and I thought I needed to do this. I needed to get healthy.
Yeah, that's admirable because not everyone does that.
Well, I'd heard a statistic that if your doctor is overweight, you're not going to take diet advice from them. I thought, well, that makes sense. So I better look like I know what I'm talking about.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm so impressed that you do mountain biking. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about it. How long have you been doing it and how you got ready for it?
Well, I sort of stumbled into mountain biking. My husband is an avid road rider, and I was trying to be active. And so we bought me a cross trail bike, and I was riding that. And then my girlfriend won a mountain bike, and she said, "Will you take a mountain biking class with me?" I said, "Sure." And we went, and it was every Wednesday night. It was women's mountain biking just here at the local bike park in the city. And I fell in love with it. I couldn't get enough of it. It was all women. It was good. And then someone said to me, "You need to join this mountain biking club that's here in town. And it's just for women." And I thought, oh, I'm not good enough to join a mountain bike club. Like, that was really intimidating. And I've never been to the mountains to ride my bike. And they said, no, join. And they have all sorts of levels. And so I joined this mountain biking club, and it's about 4 years now. And I can't get enough of it. But last summer, the pandemic was good for me because I got out on my mountain bike probably 4 nights a week. And here in Canada, we get a little longer nights in the summer months. And so we can ride later. So, June, July, and August, we can ride up till 10 o'clock at night outside. Oh, wow. because the light is there, right? So you don't mind going to the mountains after work. It was more of just meeting other women. You talk about community, getting involved that way. And I just can't get enough of the mountain biking. Not going to get into fat biking. Lots of the girls fat bike in the winter, but it's a little cold.
Yeah. So you said your husband does road biking. Do you do that as well?
Yeah, I do. I'm not as fast as he is, so we can never road ride together. Right. But he does all the big grand fondos of 160 kilometers or that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And the first couple of times I went with him to be the paparazzi and take the pictures. And then I started to look at the people that were road riding and looking at them and going, huh. And then I realized there's categories for 50 kilometers and 110 kilometers. And I thought, I could do that.
Right.
And so I started getting back on my cross trail, and I did one year. I worked really hard to get to, 55 kilometers and I did it. And I was like, wow, that was just huge for me. Those moments of accomplishing it. I know I'll never be the 160K that my husband is, and that's okay. But I love getting out there in the fresh air. And I've got a saying now that's any day outside is better than a day at the gym, because I'd rather be outside.
There you go. Yeah, it's really fun, isn't it?
You actually have you really do have mountains to do mountain biking.
Yes, we do. I live an hour from Banff. And so there's lots of great trails in Banff, Lake Louise area that we ride, as well as there's a provincial park that's really close called Kananaskis and Westbred Creek. And they're great mountains. They're great trails. They're serious up and down mountain bike trails. Some of them I'm not there yet. And sometimes I do have to get off my bike to walk up the hill. Sometimes I have to get off my bike to go down the hill, but I'm out.
Well, you're out there. That's great.
Yeah. How rough are these trails?
They're graded as a green run or a blue run or whatever, sort of like your ski runs. Okay. And so I would say that I'm skiing or riding the blue runs, right? I'm doing that. I feel confident out there. They're up and down. They're loose gravel or, lots of roots and rocks and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So you and I are now friends on Zwift.
Yes, we are.
So I was wondering, if you could, for people who don't know what that is, if you could describe Zwift for us, and we can just sort of talk about it, I guess.
Well, Zwift is something you take your road bike or any bike to, and it's you have to have an electronic trainer. That's what you have to have. Zwift is the app, I think. I'm still learning, Jill. I'm still learning. So, but Zwift is, you can go and ride these fun things. Like I've discovered I could ride in London. I can ride Central Park in New York and that kind of stuff. And it's just, for me, not getting to the gym because of what we're living in just allowed me to get there. But it's a nice way to sort of ride with a group of people separately or just ride on your own. The bike and the app sort of allow you to modulate as you were outside. So it's got the hills, the incline, the downhill. I'm not very fast, but I putter along in Zwift, and I'm trying to Zwift 2 to 3 nights a week because I think that that'll help my riding come next spring.
Oh, probably. I am not very fast on that either. So I think of it as like a video game. You know, you have an avatar.
Yeah.
And you can see everyone riding their bike, and people run too. You can see the occasional runner.
Yeah. And I do know that, there are people who really try and level up, and I haven't quite figured out the leveling up. Or the other day I discovered that I could change my avatar's jersey because I've ridden enough times to change my jersey or my socks. And
I just got socks the other day. Yes.
but it's kind of, sort of the gamification of fitness. Right. Yeah. And it does encourage you, right? And there's people that give you the thumbs up or ride on comments as you're going by, or you see someone's avatar is, 2 seconds ahead of you. So you might pedal a little faster to try and catch them Yes.
I was riding some training course, and I was riding and thinking, I don't know where this is, but I'm going to guess that I'm in Europe somewhere. And then the Arc de Triomphe came up, and I thought, oh, I'm in Paris.
How much fun.
The virtual rides are really fun.
And I never knew that London was as hilly as it is, apparently.
Yeah, like I was surprised at how hilly London is. The other day I was doing a ride in London, and there was, you had the option to go to Buckingham Palace or some hill. I thought, I'll try a hill. How hilly can it be? Oh my goodness. Very. And it was interesting that it was that challenging to, at one point I was like, can I even pedal this bike?
I was at 1 mile an hour going up a hill.
Oh, wow.
It was slow.
Yeah. But as long as we keep going, and sometimes one day I was like, okay, I'm just going to get to the top of the hill. I'm not even going to try and go down, because I just seemed, and then I realized that I'd lost my connection from the internet, and I was like spinning my wheels.
So you do other things too for cross training, I imagine. Like, what else do you do for fitness wise? Yoga or strength training?
I try to strength train 2 to 3 days a week. And, I struggle with strength training because I always say I can do cardio till the cows come home. That saying, like I could just do it forever. Right. But I realize, and with, listening to the podcast and other podcasts, strength training is so important. Right. And so I've really worked on doing strength training 2 to 3 days a week. I used to go to the gym and have all that, but not having access to the gym has really challenged me to do it differently. And so, I've got some equipment at home. I've got a routine, and having worked in a program where we were teaching clients exercise, I had access to some really good ideas and some handouts and things like that. And so I sort of have learned the FIT principle they talk about, and knowing how to build on your strength training and your reps and that kind of stuff. So I definitely strength train because I want to be standing straight. I want the bone density, and I know it burns, more calories than if you're just doing cardio. I've seen the difference. And what I love to do now is circuit training. I've got a little circuit routine. I've just got some music for circuit routine, and I try and do, 1 minute of strength training, 1 minute cardio, 1 minute strength, 1 minute of cardio. And I find that really helps me get through it.
Yes.
But I do try and do strength training 2 to 3 days a week. I'm not so good with the yoga. I know yoga is important. Flexibility is important. And I really need to work on some of that flexibility. I don't always take time to stretch. And I probably need to do more stretching as I age. But it's sort of like, right. I'd rather, or it's time, right? And I do find now that I'm home doing some, stretching or doing yoga, my dog comes and gets in the way.
Right.
She wants to join.
Real downward dog.
Yeah. She comes and she licks your face.
As soon as you get on the floor, dogs just go berserk. They just love.
They want to be at your level, right? So I've had to sort of find a space in my house where I can close the door and not let the dog in. But I do need to do more of the strength training. And then I have ran in the past. I remember I have an older sister who started running at 50, and I wasn't 50 yet. And I thought, if my sister at 50 can run, I can run. And so that was sort of my impetus to start running. So she was running, and I thought, okay. And she was going to a running program, that kind of stuff. And so I was running up until it's hard to run and do mountain biking. So that's what I like about triathlons, is that you have to be doing those kinds of activities all year. Right. And so I didn't run as much last summer and I'm back to it. I found two of the women that I've from my mountain bike club are, we've ridden all on Wednesday nights all year. And so we've decided, okay, let's just run on Wednesday nights instead of mountain biking. So we've kept that community of active living. And I think that's what's key. So I'm back to running, which is good.
So you're running outside on Wednesdays?
Yeah. I don't have a treadmill. So I run outside 2 days a week. I try really hard to get those runs in. And I can run with my dog. She'll run with me. So that's a good thing.
That is my goal for, I
have a puppy.
This puppy now. Yes, and so she can't run yet, but I am really hoping I can train her to run with me.
I think she's going to be a natural, Jill. I really do.
That's awesome.
Well, I think she'll like the running part, but the running with me, I'm not so sure. We'll see.
Well, and that's it, right? So the one I sort of gave up running when when we got our dog, because she was a puppy, and you're not supposed to run with them for a year. I don't know if that's true or not, but the vet said,
I've read it
vet said, don't run. She needs her bones to develop. I'm like, okay. In the meantime, I gave it up because I was always walking her, and it's time, right? But now she's running and she's coming along, right? Some days she's not so good, but she does. We did 6K on Saturday, and she settled into it. Only a couple of times was she, what I call a jerk, and pulled me too hard or whatever. But yeah, so I'm running outside and I'm trying.
Well, so since you live in Canada, I was not sure. I mean, you must have a pretty long winter.
Yes.
So I was just thinking that might make it challenging to be working on some of these fitness goals.
I think we adapt, right? I run with a headlight in the winter months. I had to invest in a headlight so that you can run on the paths. The city I live in, they're very good at plowing the paths and keeping the snow and ice off of it. Where I live, we get the funny winds called the Chinook winds. I don't know if where you guys are, if you get Alberta clippers. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have heard of that. And occasionally we will get particular bad storm from Canada. Yeah. It'll swoop down onto us.
And so our Chinooks come in, and we get Chinooks, fairly regularly, which come in from the mountains, and they sweep up all the snow. And so like today, there's no snow on the ground, but yet 3 weeks ago we had a good foot. And so the snow comes and goes with the weather. When the Chinook winds come, it takes the snow away. And I know it goes somewhere in the States, and you guys get these big storms because we've given you our snow. And it's just the way the wind blows, right?
Yes.
So we do get out. Winter is bearable, right? Because the temperature today, we're actually at a heat wave. It's 15 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's a warm day. It's probably 50, which is a nice winter day.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, so, we can get outside. And then I do cross-country ski.
Oh.
I cross-country ski. My husband and I are avid cross-country skiers. We try and get out on the weekend at least one day if there's good conditions. So being close to the mountains, you can make that drive for an hour and get some really nice mountain trails, cross-country skiing, which is good. So that's another activity that I do fairly regularly in the winter. Just about being active and doing things.
Well, you mentioned a little bit about your work as a recreational therapist, and I'm not as familiar with recreational therapists. I know physical therapy and occupational therapy. Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
So recreational therapy is also one of the allied health professions, and it's most often popular in sort of found its way into long-term care where you would age. So those people that run activities in the nursing homes or those kinds of facilities, that's sort of where we got our traditional roots from. But as we've grown as a profession, we do work with people that have spinal cord injuries or, rehab or mental health issues. And we use leisure to help people get well, right? So it is about finding leisure. So if you think about somebody who's really anxious, you would teach them some anxiety techniques related to leisure, and it could be music related. It could be, sometimes I have a very anxious patient that, knitting, it's soothing and it's relaxing. Or we all know that with depression, 30 minutes of activity is supposed to be huge to help boost someone's depression. So using physical exercise or, leisure to help alleviate some of those other concerns. So my tool is, people often call us the fun girls or the fun people, because it is, you're using games or activities or things that are enjoyable in your life to be those tools to be healthy.
Wow, that's great.
So there is a certification process that happens, and it, through the National Council of Therapeutic Recreation, and it's a certified profession just like PT or OT.
Thank you. Yeah, I wondered about that.
Lots of different ways of doing things.
And that's how you got into figuring out some of the things that you said earlier, that if you're going to tell your clients, your patients what to do, you should be doing some of this yourself.
Yeah, there was a program offered through Stanford called Row Your Own Boat. Where I live, they adopted the program from Stanford, and you had to become a facilitator for it. It's a great program for anybody with chronic health conditions. And it really talks about, I think there's 10 tools in a toolbox that they help people learn. And those were the sort of tools that I started to think about in my own life. Good sleep, good nutrition, physical activity, action planning, setting some goals, that kind of stuff, understanding your breathing, those kinds of things to help you be an advocate for your own health. And I thought, here I am teaching this. I better start to live it. That's sort of where it comes from.
We talk a lot about losing and maintaining weight on this podcast. And I think that maintaining weight can be a real challenge. Do you have any advice on dealing with weight that you would share with our listeners?
That's one of the things I love about the podcast is I get such good ideas from your guests and from, being in the Facebook group and people's ideas. Weight is a hard one. I do know that food logging is key. And I try really hard to food log, and I've created a little spreadsheet on my iPad that I try and use faithfully. I'm usually good for 3 or 4 days, and then something happens and I fall out, but it's always there. I'm trying to food log. I also love when you guys did the veggie challenge, right? And I bought into that really quite easily. Really try and eat the different colors of the rainbow, looking for different vegetables, making sure I have a vegetable at all meals. My snacks are vegetables. I always have my husband laughs at me. I have a Tupperware container that's sort of my veggie container, and I, fill it every day and take it for those kinds of things. But, maintaining weight is a difficult chore. And I think with our age, and as we age and our hormones change, it is harder to maintain. It's not an easy task. So I love exercise, but I do know that the weight is really important. And that's something that's probably has plagued me all my life. And I've gone up and down. I've had a nutrition coach for a while, and, I certainly know what I need to do, and I just need to buckle down and do it.
It is a challenge at times, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the things I've discovered is that with wearing a mask at work, I'm not drinking as much water. I have to mask all the time. And I've been lugging this water bottle, and I kept thinking, at the end of the day, it's not drank. And then you don't start to feel so good, right? So the importance of water with your nutrition and getting that water in, I thought, I have to do that. And then I was finding I was tired. I was buying a coffee every afternoon. I thought, this is getting back into those bad habits.
Oh, yeah.
When I first started to really look at my nutrition, I started to drink vegetable juice or V8 juice. I don't know if you get V8 juice,
yes,
but
sure.
Replacing sort of that, and just even getting more vegetables that way, and getting started with, a vegetable juice versus vegetables was a help. And now my husband laughs at me because I'll always buy 7 red or yellow peppers every week. And I said, well, you have a banana every day, so I have a pepper every day. It doesn't matter. I'm just making sure I get those vegetables in, right? So nutrition is hard. It is hard. I think it's probably one of the hardest aspects because there's so many things that get tossed in our way, and food, as you've discussed on the podcast so many times, is such a social thing, and learning to manage it and how to plan for it and deal with it and that kind of stuff. And I've really appreciated those conversations about just that healthy reminder about food and nutrition. It's hard.
It is hard. Yeah. Do you follow any particular way of eating? Do you avoid any food groups?
No, I eat, well, I would say I eat Canada Food Guide, which you probably don't know much about, but it's based on sort of like your triangle of eating, but it's a rainbow of eating. I try and watch my fats and have good fats and healthy fats. I'm trying to eat 1 vegetarian meal a week. My husband doesn't find that as much satiating as he would a good protein. So just trying to be healthy. I'm trying to eat more fish. I struggle with cooking fish because being a landlocked province, we don't get a lot of great fresh fish. Yeah, I eat everything. I try and not eat the processed foods. I try to make everything from scratch, and I don't mind cooking a meal and starting it from scratch. I don't do a lot of prepared foods, but we eat relatively almost anything. We try and limit our sweets and our treats and that kind of stuff.
We're going into the season when we get a lot of treats and sweets.
Treats and sweets, right?
I used to say, unless it was homemade, I'm not going to eat it. And so that was always a helpful little reminder. And so I try, at the office or wherever, if somebody baked it themselves, then I'm more likely to try it. But if it's just a bought something, that's sort of my rule.
Right. It's more processed. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I don't mind. Sometimes people say, oh, take one. And I'll take one and then I'll walk down the hall and put it in the garbage can.
Yeah, I've done that.
Hopefully they don't listen to this podcast and hear you throw away their treat. No.
They're store-bought goodies, right? I don't know.
There is a big difference between eating a homemade chocolate chip cookie and a store-bought.
Yeah.
So not even from a bakery, but Chip Ahoy, yes.
A Chip Ahoy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. If I'm going to have those calories, I want them to count. Right.
Yes.
Like we have a really nice chocolate store in Calgary, and I'll eat a Bernard Callebaut chocolate. They're good chocolates. I would much rather have that than a pot of gold chocolate. Right.
Right.
So it's making those choices. Right.
When you come home from work and it's been a long day, do you have kind of a go-to meal that you might make in the evening that's quick, easy, and nutritious thing you might share with us?
Well, I don't know if I have any go-to ones.
Okay.
I meal plan. I'm a faithful meal planner. And on the weekends I plan and I know what I'm going to have so that it's ready and sort of planned. So I sort of plan my meal. I buy my groceries accordingly. And so that when I come in the door, I'm not wondering what we're going to eat. So I know Tuesday night we made sloppy joes and a salad. It was there. I made it with ground turkey and whole grain bun and blah, blah, blah. And a salad, and it was done, right? Tonight, I knew I was doing this. And so I, had a frozen stew left over and I took that out, right? So my mom used to say to me, the worst thing was she'd go to bed and worry about what we're going to eat the next night. I am like that. So I decided that I'm going to eliminate that. I have it on the fridge. My husband knows what days he's cooking. I know what days I'm cooking, and we have a plan. And so we don't ever... That's sort of our go-to plan is the plan.
Okay. You don't wing it.
No, I never wing it. Maybe I'll wing it maybe on Friday night because we're tired. But we always have, I really am faithful at my meal planning because that's where I need to be safe, right? That's where you can fall off the rails.
Right.
You can order in or do whatever.
That's smart.
So I try really hard.
Do you do food prep as well?
No, because it's just the two of us. And lots of our meals are generally quick and easy, 15 to 20 minutes. If I know that something's going to be an hour, then I might make it on the weekend and prepare it so that I just have to pop it in the oven and walk the dog and come home and it's ready. I really try to be, supper times at whatever time, I know that it's going to be quick and easy in 30 minutes or less, 25 minutes. I like 15 or less, and I say to my husband, do we eat the same thing? I think I have a large enough repertoire that I don't have a go-to, but I have go-to things when I make my meal plan, right? Sort of things that way for the days that I'm really busy.
Do you come home, eat your dinner, and then do your exercise? Or do you come home, exercise, do your fitness thing, and then eat?
Yes, I have learned that if I come home from work, I'm done. Here in Canada, that it gets dark early, right? So it's dark at 4:30. And so I'm not so apt to go out if it's dark. And so I come home and I exercise, or, in the past, I would pack my gym bag and take it with me to work, and it would be in my trunk of my car, and I wouldn't go home until I've been to the gym. And so I've had to shift that, but exercise is always first. I come home and I always have a plan for my exercise too. I've decided that you ladies are making me think I'm a planner.
I think you are.
That's what I've decided in this conversation. I think you've made me a planner. But I always have a plan. Like today I knew that it was my day to walk the dog. So I came home and we've had our hour walk. Yesterday was my day to go running. And so I knew that the meal would be planned, and I came home and got into things are a little different because of the pandemic, but I came home, got my running gear on, and I went running. I always have that sort of between 4 and 6 is workout time.
Okay.
My friends know that. People would know that. And then I also have learned on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, if I don't have my activity done by noon, chances are I'm not going to do it. Because I get sidetracked, or you get lazy, or you've eaten poorly, or something's gone awry. So I make sure I have a plan to get it done in the mornings on the weekend even.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend who will run every night at 7 p.m. and I'm like, how do you do that? Like I wouldn't have the energy. I'm too tired to do it then.
I really prefer eating after I do my fitness things. So I was curious about, I guess, the timing of that.
Yeah. I always have a snack as I drive home. This I learned from you ladies, always sort of planning that, having a healthy snack, maybe a protein bar or something on that drive home so that I'm not starved and I can get to the gym or get to an activity without having to think, oh, I need to eat supper.
Right.
Making sure I have a decent protein at noon, something on that drive home, and then I'm ready to go, right? To have that plan in place and then have my plan. I think maybe that's why I meal plan too, because by the time I get home from exercising at 6:30,
Right.
I'm tired. I need it to be fast.
And hungry.
Yeah.
Especially if you just
you're
burned,
definitely hungry.
500, 700 calories, right?
Yeah.
So you have been a member of the Becoming Ellie community for well over a year, and you are very inspirational to all of us.
Thank you.
How do groups like ours help you?
Oh, I find that the ladies in the Becoming Ellie group are just upbeat. Even if they're struggling, they're willing to own it. They're willing to say, I'm struggling. Can you help me out? Or, people will give ideas or ask for ideas, and it's just accepted. There's always somebody generally replying to somebody's comments or liking a comment. And I think when I first started this journey of exercise in, my late 40s, and now definitely my 50s, there are not a lot of women exercising. Finding people that are like-minded, that are trying to be healthy, eating right, looking at good nutrition, just sort of those ideas of how to do things or understanding that there's all sorts of ways to look at things differently. I would never have looked at intermittent fasting, seriously thinking about it as I, sort of think about where I need to make change or what I might like to try. I would never have thought of that except for hearing about it and reading about it in the community of Fit Strong.
A lot of people are doing intermittent fasting
and find it works for them in their health, right? Kombucha. You guys have had lots of conversations on kombucha.
Kombucha, right?
I've got somebody gave me, I got a friend who I knew drank it and they gave me a mother. I didn't know what the word was, or a starter. I've started and we'll be having our first kombucha drink on December 23rd because I've got it
great.
Brewing.
Well, that's something that I've been wanting to do along, and I have not had the guts yet to start one. But so that's great, Jane. That's great.
And it came from your group. I would never have done that. Never.
Well, I want to see photos of that. So post that in the group when you
okay.
decant it or whatever. I want to see it.
It's just sort of sitting there, right? It's sitting on the counter doing what it does.
Yep.
The person who taught me how to make it she gave me the mother, said, okay. And then so on December the 23rd, we get to have our first drink.
There you go.
Oh, great. What flavor is it?
Well, I will add my flavor at the end. And so I've got to go and do some shopping around. Now, she recommended a root beer blend or a ginger blend. And so I just have to go and
see a lot of ginger.
I like the gingers.
Yeah. And then she gave me some ideas about mixed berries. So, it's brewing, it's coming along. And on December the 23rd, I'll post my picture of my kombucha.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
So, that's something I would never have done. So it's that conversations that's happened in this world of Becoming Ellie.
Oh, that's cool.
Great.
That's cool.
That's great.
Well, part of this whole staying fit and healthy, a lot of it is mental and doing the mantras and affirmations. Is there anything else that you do that helps to keep you motivated, and anything you'd be willing to share with us?
Well, I have the mantra that I say, I'm living it. So years ago, McDonald's used to have a commercial that said, I'm loving it. And my husband and I twisted it to say, I'm living it, because we want to live and be healthy. So that's sort of my go-to. I'm living it. But, simple things of just the littlest things to motivate you. And, you read in my bio about checking off on the calendar. When I first started to be active, just that simple visual cue. And I had this bright pink, on a calendar with these great big bright pink check marks. And it spurred me on because it was like the first couple of, January and February, I didn't have tons of check marks. But as the months went by, I was getting more and more. But people then started to say, well, what the, when we had people in our homes, not that we can have them in our homes now, but people would say, well, why do you have those pink check marks on your calendar? Like, there's no rhyme or reason. Like, you're not counting down to something, and it was like, well, I'm trying to exercise, 30 minutes every day. And that became very, very, that visual cue. I have a little picture of a saying on my fridge. It's about the stairs and just keeping, motivated on that path. Just little things that they have to be visual for me. And I find those to be very helpful.
Great.
That motivation's hard. I think once you get in the habit of doing the right thing, it's easier. Like filling your water bottle. Like I fill my water. I have a Clean Canteen steel water bottle. And if I fill that at night and put it beside my work bag, I'm more likely to drink water throughout the day, right? And it's that visual cue of the water bottle, or, making sure I have my container of my veggies available to eat it when I need those. So to me, that's the visual and having those.
Yeah,
things.
having the cue for the habit, right?
Yeah. And then just my husband and I try and come up with a gratitude statement at supper time. Like, what are we grateful for? And often mine relates to something that's motivation that will keep me doing the right thing. Like, I'm grateful that I can, have a salad for supper, right? Lots of people can't have salad because it's an expensive item in the grocery store, right? And I'm grateful that I have the ability to have a pepper every day and not worry about the cost of a pepper, those kinds of things.
So if our listeners would like to follow you, where would they go? Do you have any social media presence that you'd want to point them to?
Well, I guess I'm on Facebook and I'm in the Facebook group. And so, people would find me there.
Okay.
I also, I have an Instagram account, and I think I've started to follow you ladies on Instagram, and I'm Scrappy Crawford, but they're pictures of my dog.
Okay.
Well, we all love dogs, don't we?
I don't have a website or that kind of stuff. But, I think if people wanted to find me, they would find me in the Facebook group. That would be the place.
All right. We'll just say join the Becoming Ellie Facebook group and you will find Jane.
Because it's a great group.
Thanks.
And I have to thank you ladies, because I was so excited when I discovered this group. So you have been inspirational. So I appreciate your energy in maintaining it, because it's not easy to do the Facebook group, the podcast, and that your energy and commitment is huge. So I'm grateful for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thanks. Well, I think we get as much out of it as we do in doing it. It just, I find it very motivating.
Oh, yeah. And you are absolutely right. When we talk to these different people about eating, and someone will say, eat 3 cups of vegetables and whatever. And those things are motivational. We learn a lot about healthy eating and fitness, and everyone has there's always something you can learn from them.
Exactly. Like, there's always something. Like, sometimes I think, I don't know if I'd be interested. Mm-hmm. Then I'm like, oh, that was a really good one. Yeah. So, but you're right. There's always
Isn't that fun? Well, just like this one. This one was a really good one too. I feel like I'm going to listen to it a couple different times over, because there's little nuggets of things that you said that's like, that's exactly right.
I really do appreciate that. And I just really do appreciate the podcast and the community, because it does. It's a great place to be. And, it's funny. I've encouraged some of my friends to look at it and to listen to the podcast. So,
oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Jane, it's been wonderful talking with you tonight. And it really is nice to actually have a conversation instead of just post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for spending time with us. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me. And I do appreciate it. So thank you. And have a best holiday season. Keep safe and keep strong.
Thank you. Same to you.
You too. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Jane is really disciplined, She plans her meals and schedules her workouts. I really struggle with organization at times, so she really impressed me with that.
Yeah, I love how she works at including strength training in, even though she'd rather be doing cardio.
Yeah. I also like how she has communities to help her meet her goals. So she's active in the Becoming Ellie community, and then she has groups at home to work with. I was really impressed with how she got into mountain biking. Have you ever gone mountain biking, Chris?
Well, I've walked several mountain biking trails, but I have a road bike. I don't have a mountain bike. So it really requires a whole different set of tires and, just the way it's laid out. So I'm sticking with road bikes for right now.
I also have walked a couple of those trails and they're pretty rough. I wonder if there's a women's mountain bike riding group around here. Because I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do it, but I would be curious.
Yeah, there are. I know of a couple of them. The East Rim Trail isn't too bad. There's there's a lot of different trails around here. And if you're interested in doing it, you have a mountain bike or you're going to rent one, I'll hook you up with a couple friends that I know that love mountain biking.
Yeah, I don't have a mountain bike. I have a hybrid bike, but I don't have a mountain bike.
Yeah, some of the friends that I used to ride street bikes with decided to go mountain biking. And there was one night, 3 of them got hurt in the same night.
Oh,
mountain biking. It can be a little trickier. It's not the same skill set, but
yeah, that's why I don't know if I want to do that or not.
I think in some ways it's more fun because it is trickier. But on the other hand, I'm more interested in getting in the flow and I just haven't done the mountain biking. But you had talked about Zwift.
Yeah, Zwift. Yeah, I was wondering. So if any of our listeners, if you're listening and you are also active on Zwift, let us know that because we could, start a Becoming Ellie team or have a little group ride or whatever.
So what does it take to be on Zwift?
So you have to have a bike and then you have to have some kind of what they call a smart trainer. So now, you know how you can get a trainer that you can put on your bike and then ride it indoors during the winter?
Yeah, I know there's some that have magnets so that it gets harder the faster you go and things like that.
Right. A smart one uses like Bluetooth and it connects through your Wi-Fi to software. It's like running a video game that your bike connects to. So instead of having a controller, if you were going to play a game, instead of like your kids sitting there with a controller.
Does it plug in with like a USB port into something? Or it's Wi-Fi?
No, it uses Wi-Fi. Okay. So it connects via Bluetooth through your Wi-Fi. So I have it set up on a Apple TV that's connected to my television.
So you just basically download an app into your television system, but you have to buy something.
Yes. Okay. And then it's a subscription. You pay a monthly fee for it. And you have to have this smart trainer.
So is that what you would Google if you're going to buy one? Smart trainer?
Yeah, you could probably go to the Zwift website.
I see.
And it would probably tell you what trainers are compatible with them.
That makes sense.
So I will tell you that it's one of those kinds of things. I got mine on Facebook Marketplace because somebody had bought it and then they never used it. Cool. So it was sitting in the box and I got a much better deal for it. So it's like one of those things. It's like buying a treadmill.
If you look for one that's slightly used and they didn't like it.
Yes, you may well find it.
Well, I'll put the link in the show notes to Zwift so that people can take a look.
So it's sort of like Swift, but with a Z, Zwift. You can go, you see all these people from all around the world that are riding at the same time as you, but you can also do group rides.
So you can chat.
So you can chat. On the group rides, they're set up so that let's say you and I were doing a group ride, if you were a lot faster rider than I am, as long as we're in a group and it's set up for us to stay together, the computer keeps us together, faster. Even though you're going.
Oh, okay. I see.
Faster.
So you can continue to chat and see each other on the thing.
Yeah. So you can chat even if you don't see each other. So if like Jane was riding at the same time that I was riding, I would get a message that she was online and I could.
And does it have like a little icon that goes along, sort of like a video game, or like sometimes the GPS has a little car in it? Is that what it looks like?
It has. So you see yourself on your bike, mainly from the back. So it's like the camera angle is at your back. So you see yourself riding
and you can look
bike.
Forward and see all this scenery.
You see all these other people. Yes, and you see the scenery. And they have all these different places where you can go. So you could ride your bike in New York City, or you could ride your bike in Virginia.
Isn't that appealing right
Paris
now when
or London.
We're stuck at home and no traveling?
Yes.
Very appealing.
So it's really funny is that I rode a course in Yorkshire, England. Well, I have cousins who live there, and so I'm connected with my one cousin on Strava, and my Zwift rides get uploaded to Strava. So she saw that I was riding in a city that's close to her. So she replied and said, I really wish this were true because we live right by here and you could come visit.
Wouldn't that be fun? Well, it would be really fun to have a Becoming Ellie group like that because we could go visit each other's favorite bike trails.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be neat. Or whatever they are on Zwift. I don't know if they're bike.
I don't think they're that specific, but we could go places.
Even if you're not going to join the Zwift group, not that I don't even have a trainer going yet, but those listeners who want to get together with a community, you can join our private Facebook group and discuss these things here. That's how we met Jane, actually. And if you want to share anything with us, feel free to leave a voicemail. Our number is 330-970-6662.
Or you could leave us a comment at our website, becomingellie.com, on our Facebook page, or on Twitter.
And you can find us on Instagram and Pinterest. We're always happy to hear from you. Well, see you in the next episode of the Fit Strong Women Over 50.
Till then, take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.